I just wanted to give you a couple interesting things about the world of these weird celebrities. So Puffy's trial, Diddy's trial. So you may remember there was a soft white underbelly where that girl, Tania, said she went to a Puffy party and she let slip a name, Prince Azeem. Now, who was Prince Azeem? Prince Azeem died in 2018 at the age of 38 of, sort of some vague causes. Sounds like it could have been the HIV. Prince Azeem was a guy, he was fourth in line, Sultan of Brunei. Brunei is a country near Malaysia that is super duper oil wealthy, and it's tiny. And the Sultan of Brunei and his brother, Jeffrey, they own the Beverly Hills Hilton, the Dorchester, like the top hotel in London. Some people think Sultan of Brunei is actually the richest single person in the world because he uses the treasury of the country as his personal piggy bank. So this Azeem that Tania, the girl, said that him and Puffy were doing that to each other in front of everybody. And now all that stuff goes together. I noticed that in LA, it seemed like the rich gay men, they're gonna have the pretty girls around. So just like a wealthy guy or a famous guy or a young guy can attract women, the rich gay men want the women around to attract the men. And then that way, I guess you have access to what you want. Once you get someone to the mansion, the proverbial or the literal mansion, and the D-rugs are flowing, then you can start to turn people out in whatever sick ways you're interested in. You remember, so she said she went into the party. She was brought to the party. She met Prince Azeem on some, presumably some type of tricking, but he was, so to go back to the Prince Azeem, fourth in line, I'm not sure was he the son of the ruler, the Sultan of Brunei, or the brother. But either way, in 2018, when which one happened first? Well, long story short, the King Joffrey of Brunei he owns all these hotels, and Sultan of Brunei, who him and his brother live, and I'm going to get into it, a six-party lifestyle, or they had been, despite being devout Muslims. They went to institute Sharia law, which outlaws man-on-man activities. While the celebrity blogger Perez Hilton outed Prince Azeem. And Prince Azeem did not deny it. He said, oh, well, I might be bi. And as we all know, there's no such thing as bi. Bi means you're a gay man that has sex with women sometimes. There's no such thing as bi. For a man, you're gay. So Perez Hilton outs this Prince Azeem. Not long after that, he gets this mysterious illness and suddenly passes away at the age of 38. He had been floating around Hollywood. He had spent some money to produce some movies. He met this Tania girl. She said she had been with him for several weeks. She caught herself when she referenced like drug use was getting out of control. Probably the METH, which is what fuels when you hear them talking about Puffy having these 3 and 4 day. What could you possibly be doing to keep you up for 3 days of sex? Well, to my knowledge, it would only be the only D-rug that's known to keep you up for days at a time is the METH. And they ease you into that off the MDMA, the Molly, because MDMA is methyl data blah blah methamphetamine. So she's referenced too much hardcore drug stuff that was starting to scare her. She wanted to leave. She thought she was going to be trafficked back somewhere. And if that doesn't sound likely, I did a story last week about a white woman in a suburban part, a nice part of LA. The police were chasing someone else around in her neighborhood, and the helicopter was out, and the police were near her backyard. She comes outside with a gun. Police tell her to drop it. Maybe she didn't hear maybe she couldn't hear from the helicopter. It's not clear yet. She fires at the police. They shoot her. She's finally, she has been charged for attempted murder on LAPD. She's the wife of the bassist for the rock group Weezer. Weezer was huge. They had that song Creep, If You Want to Destroy My Sweater. That was them. They've sold 35 million records, which is about the same as Ja Rule. So if you know how big Ja Rule is, whatever, that's how big Weezer was. Pretty big. His wife, this woman that is now charged with attempted murder on the LAPD, guess when she was 20 years old where she was recruited to go live at? In the palace of the Sultan of Brunei. Because him and his brother would pay women, you'd get $20,000 a week to be part of the harem, and they would have, 50 women, and several times a week they would have a party where they might have a big musical act in, and there was a bunch of people there, and if, the Sultan or his brother came and tapped you and said, I'd like for you to have tea with me in the back, you went in the back and had a brief, non-hardcore interaction with their small Malaysian swords. And, so this woman that Schreiner, what's her name, Jillian Schreiner, they did finally charge her with attempted murder on LAPD. LAPD shot her. She used to, this same story to this Tania girl of thinking she was going to get taken to the palace of the Sultan of Brunei. Well, they weren't trafficking them. They would, this Weezer wife was approached. She was like a young model in Manhattan when she was like 20, and she got $20,000 a week, and then you're there for a couple months, and then it was time to, you get taken shopping, and you get, jewelry and blah, blah, blah. Sounds like not too bad of a deal. And then you always hear about these kind of huge musical acts who are past their prime getting, so-and-so got $1 million to perform at the birthday party of, some sheik you never heard of. So that's kind of like going with the oil money. The Arab oil money is like, that's, when your time is up. But they're probably, and you want to make money, like they say, it used to be, or still is, the Arabs are walking around, they got 50,000 cash in euros, and they're knocking off white female movie stars who ain't stars no more, like names you would know, like, she was the star of this when she was 26, but she ain't 26 no more, and she's not a star, and they just want to say, they want to be able to watch when these movies be like, fucked her. Now, I'm sure not everybody participates in this, but this is what there's this whole world of deep, because if you notice with big celebrities, either they get real wholesome, I'm vegan and I do Pilates and I work out, because if you don't get wholesome or become a family person, if you get into deviancy, D-Rugs and sex, it becomes unlimited, because you got unlimited, not just the money, but there's famous people around that can attract people who wouldn't, like every young attractive person or whatever person isn't necessarily going to sell themselves like a prostitute for money, but then there's another set of people that'll trade their body or their dignity to feel important, which is what if you get tapped by a sultan or a puffy or a this or that, if someone important thinks I'm attractive enough to invite me to the party, or I'm whatever, I'm talented, thus I am important. So this whole thing with princes and girls and the Weezer bassist wife, Jillian Schreier, the one who shot the cop, she was approached by a modeling agency. And then same thing with Epstein. There's a French guy, and I'm doing this obviously all out of memory off the top of my head. If this is interesting, maybe I can go back through the notes and do the research, or, do a more elaborate story. But there's a French guy that was part of Epstein's circuit who also himself, but he had run a very important modeling agency out of maybe France or Switzerland, probably France, for decades. He had been around since the 70s, and he was implicated with arranging under 18. There's a whole component of the entertainment industry and the modeling industry as well, for men as well. I watched a documentary where there was a bunch of male models complaining about this. Talking about male models, not some guy, people that walk the runways for the big brands. Them being expected to do things, fondle, touch, that, blah, blah, blah. So this interplay between very wealthy people, modeling agencies, a guy like Puffy who's not even, he hasn't made no music in 30 years, or, he was putting out those little nothing bad albums with whoever, the band, and Dirty Money, and the Dirty Money girl is her accusing Puffy of sexual harassment now too. She wants the money too. But yeah, what was that guy doing? So he managed to keep himself famous by throwing parties all this time. He's getting paid $60 million a year from Ciroc. That's what it got made $1 billion in salary in the 17 years he was the Ciroc spokesman. Think about that. $60 million a year adds up. It does make you think. If he was doing this stuff, a type of stuff with Cassie, whether that's illegal or not or whatever, but some of the richest people in the world, men, if regular guys want to go to Las Vegas so they can call a hooker, what's a billionaire want to do? Now, some billionaires are wholesome, many are. By wholesome, you try to be just a regular person, because if you have some money and fame, you can get very out of control easily. So I just thought that was interesting. Prince Azeem, fourth in line, Sultan of Brunei. That's who brought that Tania girl from Soft White Underbelly to Diddy's party. And in the same, we have in the news right now another woman who actually had been in the harem of the Sultan of Brunei, shot at LAPD. So it ain't about the money. These people, especially these women that are attracted to entertainment, they want to feel important. And if they can't make it as a celebrity themselves, then, tricking with or being with or getting used and abused by the world's most famous people, I guess, is the next best thing. Because Cassie didn't have no talent. And the Weezer woman, she probably wanted to be something else than a whore in a harem. Though she did, interesting with her, she's written she wrote kind of a bestseller about her time in the harem. And then she recently just put out a book. She befriended the guy, Little, I think is his last name, possibly the most prolific serial killer in American history. This older black guy. She went and interviewed him in prison and wrote a book, so she loves attention, which is okay, but that's how they get you though. So beware if you move around people with money and fame. Be aware some of them, they're trying to suck you in, not with the money, but by making you feel important. But this Prince Azeem, noted homosexual, died of mysterious ailment. That's who Diddy was. They were doing that to each other in front of everybody, according to Tania. Sounds like a weird scene, so thought you might find that interesting. Al Prophet.